Okay, let's watch David Plouffe of the Harris campaign go from excited to devastated on the election. David famously said this in 2016.
David, you said over the summer at a Bloomberg event at the Republican convention that you thought Hillary Clinton had a 100% chance of winning the election. 100% chance. Do you still think she has a 100% chance of winning the election?
I do. I know that sounds crazy but
here's the first clip for 2024. He's talking about Kamala Harris and Tim Walz.
Which is important. They'll be all over the battleground states this week making their case. By the way, interestingly enough, they'll be crisscrossing the country while Donald Trump is in Mar-a-Lago stewing, not really doing anything. I think he might go to Montana, not a battleground state, and wishing he was running against Joe Biden. So I don't know what's going on there. Maybe he doesn't have the stamina for a presidential campaign anymore. Maybe his campaign believes he hurts them when he goes out like he did in Georgia.
Trump doesn't have the stamina. What a reach there.
We've told you about their visit to Minnesota scheduled for this weekend, but overnight, the Trump-Vance campaign released 3 more rally events, all being held in key battleground states.
His appearance on this show you're seeing now this past weekend with Theo Vaughn, that generated 14 million views on just YouTube alone.
Yes, and what's interesting, Jay, you and I were talking about this a little earlier, it's the way that Donald Trump learned about this medium. It's actually from his youngest son, Barron Trump.
A few days ago. But I think it's a great pick. Listen, Tim Walz, I think, is going to be a great messenger for Kamala Harris, what she wants to do as president, both in terms of his biography, which you guys have talked about a lot this morning.
Was Tim Walz a good pick? I think it might have been the worst pick ever. In 2016, Clinton picked Tim Kaine, kind of maybe a more vanilla politician. It looked like maybe not a great pick. Tim Walz.
I was on the ticket. I would argue because we did a lot of amazing progressive things in Minnesota that improved people's lives. But I also was on the ticket, quite honestly, you know, because I could code talk to white guys watching football, fixing their truck, doing that I could put them at ease. I was the permission structure to say, look, you can do this and vote for this.
So I think I'm excited about this ticket, and having run a presidential campaign before, you know, the VP pick, people are going to vote on Harris and Trump. Let's not mistake that. But a VP can go to many places, can almost double your coverage. I think Tim Walz is going to be super effective in places like Western Pennsylvania, Central Pennsylvania, Western Wisconsin, rural Georgia, the northern part of Nevada.
Well, whatever he did in those 4 states did not help enough.
NBC News has a projection to make in the presidential contest in the swing state of Pennsylvania. NBC News now projects that presidential contest has been won by Donald Trump.
Decision Desk HQ, this is what we have been waiting for. Can now project that former President Donald Trump will win Georgia.
Just in the last 6 hours, President-elect Donald Trump won the state of Nevada, and that brings the Electoral College vote to 301.
And CBS News now projects that Donald Trump is the winner in Wisconsin.
And of course, if J.D. Vance decides to debate, you know, Donald Trump right now is in the mode of ducking debates. I look forward to that debate.
The 2024 campaign had the 2 most one-sided debates I've ever seen. The Trump versus Biden debate, of course, but for a different reason. But the J.D. Vance, Tim Walz debate, it looked like a professor debating a first-year college student.
I've tried to do the best I can, but I've not been perfect. And I'm a knucklehead at times.
Governor, you previously opposed an assault weapons ban, but it's only later in your political career did you change your position. Why?
Yeah, I sat in that office with those Sandy Hook parents. I've become friends with school shooters. I've seen it.
Tim Walz is normal, mainstream, and happy. And J.D. Vance is weird, extreme, and angry.
That was quite the introduction to this video. We'll now move on, but I mean, that guy already gave a lot of very funny sound bites there. Okay, we'll move forward now a little bit. This interview was occurring around the time of the Democrat National Convention.
How big is the map really? Well, right now, it's 7 states in the Congressional District of Nebraska.
What happened in those 7 states? I like how Trump still, by the way, talks about this.
Won in a landslide. Every swing state won the popular vote.
A month ago, I think it would have been hard for Democrats to compete in Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, or North Carolina to win. I think those are all back now as credible states Kamala Harris could win.
I think we all know what happened to those credible states, though.
CNN projects that Donald Trump will win the state of North Carolina.
We begin the 8 o'clock hour with our final call of the 2024 presidential race. This might be the first time you're hearing it. as President-elect Trump has officially flipped Arizona, adding to his historic win.
Trump sweeping all 7 battleground states.
And I think she and Tim Walz are going to. I'm curious why Trump's not campaigning more aggressively. You covered it in 2016. He was. I won't give him credit for many things. He campaigned hard. In 20, he was out there a lot in part because he was irresponsible around the pandemic. But he's got a really lazy schedule.
I mean, that take obviously aged so poorly as Trump obviously ramped it up towards the end of the cycle. I'll give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. I kind of thought that at the very beginning of this campaign. I was like, man, it doesn't seem like Trump's doing that many interviews. Still, though, that aged so poorly. Lazy schedule. Trump poured it on, obviously, so much at the end, and I think it definitely paid off.
We just saw former President Trump sit down for a wide-ranging interview with podcast host Joe Rogan. But it's not looking promising that we'll see the same with Vice President Harris.
Okay, this question does not come from Plouffe. Instead, it comes from this interviewer, but I want to include it here. This question is banana land.
A specific vulnerability for Vice President Harris. Mike Murphy, the longtime Republican consultant, said on Morning Joe this morning that if they can keep Donald Trump on a teleprompter, if they can get him on the right meds, that Republicans know how to run against a progressive from San Francisco. What do you do about that vulnerability?
That's like a real question. I can't believe that. That's incredible. Trump on the right meds. And then the idea that Trump is going to stick to a teleprompter. That question might be reasonable in 2016. Have you watched Trump ever? He doesn't stick to a teleprompter.
I'm standing here, and I do most of it without the Isn't it nice to have somebody that doesn't need a teleprompter?
They're watching very carefully because who the American president is matters to people. And you watch him day to day. He is a detriment to their campaign. And so when Mike says if they can keep him on the teleprompter, that's right. He's a 78-year-old former president. We talk about him like a child, okay? If he can't execute basics about talking about what he wants to do.
Honestly, no wonder Kamala lost. Democrats are a little bit waking up to the fact that Trump is just better at this than they are. I should say some Democrats, like this statement here from Van Jones.
This dude is a phenomenon. He is the most powerful human on earth and in our lifetime. And we're still saying, well, how was this guy? We look like idiots to ordinary.
You're totally right.
Trump just outworked and outsmarted you, and he's been doing that for a decade. But many Democrats, I think, have a very hard time admitting the fact that Trump is just way better than them at politics.
Like, I think Trump's wrong on just about every policy under the sun. I don't think he has respect for our Constitution. I don't think he has respect for allies. He's also not a good person. And call me quaint, but I think that matters.
So obviously it does not sound like this guy's the biggest fan of Trump. Also, this sounds a little emotional for somebody working on the campaign, no? Okay, now we move on here, just 5 days before the election.
Obviously, a campaign like ours has a lot of sophisticated data. We look at this every day. We do quantitative research, qualitative research. But as we look at how 100% of the vote's going to get allocated in these 7 battleground states, we think we have an advantage over the Trump campaign.
It looks right now, we'll see how California comes in, like he'll be the first Republican since 2004 to win the popular vote.
And what's clear to me is, Trump will go out there. You've seen Anna Storm's the last day, him complaining, having temper tantrums about things that aren't true in Pennsylvania. It's because I'm sure he was briefed by his team that they don't like the Pennsylvania numbers.
Former President Donald J. Trump will win the state of Pennsylvania.
He gets briefed that he has real trouble with women voters. We saw this in 20, we're seeing it now. This is how he reacts in a way that doubles down and exacerbates his problems. So yeah, and listen,
not that much trouble with women voters, though.
While Vice President Kamala Harris, the first woman to ever hold that office, did secure the majority of female voters, she had less support among women than the past 3 Democratic presidential candidates.
Do you buy this theory that's sort of whispered by some, I guess pushed by some, that there may be large numbers or a significant amount of women voters who support Harris but are not saying so publicly in their families or to pollsters?
Well, listen, we're being very conservative in our own data. I think we've learned that in 16 and 20. I think if I'm surprised by anything on election night, it will be that differs than the data we're all seeing, is that maybe we do a point or two better with the women across the board.
Not the case, and I haven't brought this up in a while, but do you remember those ads about women going into the voting booth and then not telling their husbands? clown world.
And then not for, just for good measure, they make the male Trump supporter look like a complete doofus.
Of course, obviously. And it's just...
Okay, final short clip pre-election. It's a tweet from David Plouffe, read, though, by somebody else, Mark Halperin.
It's helpful from experience to be closing a presidential campaign with late deciding voters breaking by double digits to you, and the remaining undecideds looking more friendly to you than to your opponent. Closed rate turnout 4 days, blah, blah, blah.
But then what happened on election night?
Again, CNN projects that Donald J. Trump is elected the 47th president of the United States.
Okay, now we are post-election. We have some clips here from David Plouffe when he and the campaign staff were talking about what went wrong in the 2024 election.
Her favorability rating increased by, I believe, 15 points. If you look at who do you trust more to look out for people like your family, who do you think is going to fight for the middle class? Huge progress for Kamala Harris. Even on crime and immigration, we were able to make.
That's good. Her favorability ratings in some metrics went up. I don't know what you need votes. You don't need favorability rating.
The comments about, wanting generals like Hitler, that bothered voters. Okay. And now he says something like this. So, yeah, we could have decided to ignore that and just say, let's talk about tax cuts today. I don't think that would have advanced the ball.
I do. They should have said that. Kamala needed a vision. So much of again, this has been a decade of vote for us because Trump is wild. Trump is crazy. That's not good enough.
And again, I just want to, it can sound like making excuses. This political environment sucked. Okay. We were dealing with ferocious headwinds. And I think people's instinct was to give the Republicans and even Donald Trump another chance. So we had a complicated puzzle to put together here in terms of the voters. And it was going to take
That does just sound like excuses. I mean,
and I think at the end of the day, we had to raise people's concern and the threat level of a Trump second term.
Okay, wrapping up the video here. I mean, to me, a lot of those takes sounded pretty out of touch. I wonder if the Democrats will adjust their strategy heading into 26 and 28. Who knows? But with that said, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. Have a great day.